Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." He replied, "What do you wish me to do for you?" They answered him, "Grant that in your glory we may sit, one at your right and the other at your left." Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you are asking. Can you drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism with which I am baptized?" They said to him, "We can." Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink, you will drink, and with the baptism with which I am baptized, you will be baptized. But to sit at my right or at my left is not mine to give, but is for those for whom it has been prepared." When the 10 heard this, they became indignant at James and John. Jesus summoned them and said to them, "You know that those who are recognized as rulers over the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones make their authority over them felt. But it shall not be so among you. Rather, whoever wishes to be great among you will be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you will be the slave of all. For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise.
James and John were not bad men. In fact, they were quite holy in their lives, despite this initial misstep. If we could continue this story of James and John, we would find that James ultimately is beheaded by King Herod for his profession of the faith. We would find that John ultimately went off to be a bishop, that he went off and then was sent off in a way to an island, which he later had to escape from, once again because of his profession of the faith. And so you can see in this moment, this misstep of theirs when it comes to asking of Jesus that they could sit on his left and then on his right, that there was more of a story to be told. And in my estimation, this is a keen insight into our own humanity as well, because in all honesty, who of us wouldn't want to have that type of honor? James and John were just bold enough to say it. And I can think about parts in my own life, both past and present, where to have that type of appreciation or to receive such an honor is something that I almost long for. And if we're not careful, this tendency can give us a sense of self-worth. It can give us a sense of validation. It's sometimes what makes life possible. But here's the deal. If we are unable or unwilling to break from this dependency, then the second portion of Jesus' message of service to the other is simply not possible. After rebuking James and John, Jesus then goes on to say the following: "You know that those who are recognized as rulers over the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones make their authority felt." We've all known people, I'm guessing, that operate with this type of top-down approach, that they use their position or authority to rule over others, to make their influence known. And on some level, perhaps, it gives them a sense of self-worth. It gives them a sense of purpose. But interestingly, Jesus in this gospel proclaims something very different to us. He goes on then to say, "But it shall not be among you. Rather, whoever wishes to be great among you will be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you will be slave of all." Christ literally desired that his disciples would go out and serve others. We need to take a moment right there and reflect upon how countercultural that statement is. Because the position of servant is not up there with CEO, doctor, lawyer, and the list could go on. The position of servant requires a certain willingness to accept Christ's teachings and to make them actively a part of our daily lives. And that is sometimes where the sticking point is, because the knee-jerk reaction to saying that we are to serve our brother and sister is the following: I have cultivated these gifts and talents. I have worked hard for the position that I've earned. Why is it incumbent upon me then to serve one another? And on one hand, you would be accurate. No doubt. The work that goes in to the talents that we possess, we should be proud of. But if we take a step backward, we recognize most fundamentally that these gifts that have been given to us have been given to us by God. So it begs then the question, why is it that God gave us these gifts in the first place? Why is it that we have these talents and these abilities that seemingly others do not possess? And each and every one of us possess talents in a unique manner. So why? 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 The answer is this: so that we might use these talents and these gifts for the building of the kingdom of God. If we recognize that these talents have been given to us by God, to be expressed and to be shared by God, then the work that we have done is secondary to the purpose, which is building this kingdom. And how do we do this? If you guessed through service to others, you would be right. Through service to one another, by freely giving of ourselves, so that we might be able to build this kingdom of God. We look at the world that we live in, and at times we can be inspired by what we see, but at other times we're not. And I would argue in those moments when we don't see the beauty, the faith, the goodness, the truth, the hope that we would love to see in this world, we can recognize that as a symptom of the wider problem, where people make themselves the center and the focus, and you see what results there: greed, power, struggles, envy. The list could go on, right? We know this. This is no surprise to us. We've sadly, as a culture, bought into this perspective of, I'll get what I can get when I can get it, and that's what makes my life of value. But the Christian message, the message we hear so distinctly from Christ today is, that is not who you've been created to be. The Christian message is, serve one another. Give of yourselves fully, not counting the cost, recognizing that in service to one another, we are depleted. And why? So that God may fill us more fully, beyond what we ever expected in our lives. That's what James and John didn't get. James and John were all about themselves at the beginning. Lord, grant that I can sit to your left and to your right, and then my life will have purpose, and that is wrong. It's fundamentally against what we believe as Christians. What we truly believe is that in service to one another, by giving of ourselves away, God fills us. God fills us more beautifully and abundantly in ways that we could not have imagined. So at the end of the day, James and John, their instinct was right. They wanted to be with Christ in the heavenly kingdom. But their method was all wrong. My brothers and sisters, we hear a very important line in this second reading of ours. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who has similarly been tested in every way, yet without sin. So let us confidently approach the throne of grace to receive mercy and to find grace for timely help. This should buoy our spirits. This should give us hope. Christ knows these challenges we face. We do not have a God who simply cannot understand. We have a God who took on human flesh and is acutely aware of those temptations that we sometimes experience in our lives. On this day, and perhaps over the course of this week, find time to reflect upon these words, to go out and to serve one another. Or as Jesus says here, but it shall not be among you. Rather, whoever wishes to be great among you will be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you will be slave of all. And reflect upon how it is that you can bring that to your lives. How it is, through your giftedness, you can serve your brother and sister, and so forth then, bring forth the kingdom of God.